Hey, we're watching more Better Call Saul. We're watching season 2, episode 9.
As together as we can.
I'm your host slash person who's streaming the episode, Willer.
I'm Bradley Salamanca.
Oh no.
I'm Joe Post 2 Mules Calamanca.
Calamanca. Joe Post 2 Mules Calamanca.
Yeah.
He's a mule man.
When we last left off, we were all wondering what Mike was going to do with his bloodborne weapon, and let's see if we can figure out on this episode called Nailed.
I wonder what's going to happen to him.
I wonder.
I bet Jimmy gets nailed.
Let's find out.
Tyler.
Can you imagine the scarier sight when you're driving? I'm glad Mike is so stealthy and all black out in the desert. As an old man.
You are not Tuco. Stop trying to be Tuco. Just because you both got... Oh my god. Okay, it's for the truck. It's not for the guy.
Mike is not known to torture others. In fact, the whole theme of this show is how far he goes to not kill people. So far.
The money.
But what about the money?
But the money.
So all those scenes with the chop shop, like what was actually happening was Mike was realizing that they're using some sort of saw to get something out of these trucks, and that's a really clever way to transfer their money.
Mm-hmm. This is the stealth mission level of Better Call Saul.
Yes. No.
What?
You'll know when it's the stealth mission level. There's a band called Spinal Tap. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah.
It's like a metal band.
Yeah.
The lead singer is Chuck.
Oh.
Yeah. Who knew he had these acting
really?
jobs? Yes.
Well done, my friend.
Look. Just look. Well, this is clearly an error.
It's not a good look.
It's 12:16.
It's a horrible look. I know where my damn bank is.
Sure, we can
I've got a building remodel.
Accurate paperwork. Maybe next time double check.
Damn.
Soonest we could revisit
Get
this one.
fucked.
Well,
Get
it looks
chucked.
like 6 weeks from Friday. The verdict will return in 6 weeks, at which time we will revisit this application. That's on the schedule now. And we'll have expedited all the additional research.
This is not
Robe.
Yes, re-robed rather. So as subtle as it was, the trick Jimmy pulls on Chuck here, it's the perfect kind of trick because it's something that Chuck would really fall for and really get heated about. So
And it's like it's perfectly tailored to attack Chuck, and it's also like, how can you really trace this back to Jimmy, right?
Yeah, it's the kind of attack that a brother who truly knows his brother would use, which is kind of fucked. It shows how well they know each other and how Jimmy is able to use that to his advantage. Poor fucking Nacho, man. You don't even have to hear the scene and you can just feel his grimacing.
I'm buying around for the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he just steal the money?
Oh yeah.
Hey, listen
Nice.
up, everybody.
And he's not gonna give it back.
Around for the house.
Don't you want to be the guy who does this one day? Like,
Yeah.
that's a bucket list thing to check off.
But it has to be dirty money from the tire.
Well, we've had dirty money in our bank accounts before.
That's true.
Not from the cartel, but
Other things.
from something much more sinister.
That's a good montage.
Yeah, I like how the interlace shots.
Seriously? Seriously.
Surprise Pikachu face.
Holy shit, that's unbelievable. What happened to HHM? I paid some from column A, some from column B.
So I mentioned earlier how rainbows in this show have come to be known as like symbolism for big dreams, far-reaching dreams, and it's fitting that their office, that we said that we could interpret it as kind of a state of their relationship in a way. There's a big old rainbow in it, like their dreams are coming true. Like this is everything Jimmy wanted. It's slowly coming together.
And there's the
I wonder what's gonna happen to it.
Yeah.
fucking fires, man.
Ground yourself, it's a thing.
I always appreciate how Jimmy is still respectable about the whole grounding thing.
What the hell?
Time for battle.
I will use my
Hey,
wizard
Chuck, why'd you change
powers.
the locks?
Ha!
This is about a client who has been defrauded. As a sworn officer of the court, as Mesa Verde's attorney of record, you have no recourse but to go to Kevin Wachtel and make a full disclosure.
This whole song and dance is all about getting his client back. You
Sorry.
can't stand the fact that they chose her over you.
I can't stand the fact that my own brother stabbed me in the back.
40s? What are you talking about? She's not ruined.
This is such a good fucking scene.
Oh,
I got some stuff to say about it.
good.
Chuck, I think there's another explanation. It's a simpler one. You made a mistake.
I did not.
It only happened to me.
I did not make a mistake.
I believe you did.
Look, I understand that you have a great affection for Jimmy. A great many people do. But please open your eyes here.
You come up with this elaborate scheme.
He's capable of this. You know he is.
I know he's not perfect. But you're the one who made him this way.
Ooh,
He idolizes you.
a
He
bombshell.
accepts you. He takes care of you. Sorry for him.
Fuck.
And I feel sorry for you.
Ooh, girl. Well, we'll talk in a little bit.
Ah.
There's a little bit more.
Jesus, what? Kim, what?
Just drive.
Man, that is one hell of a scene, huh?
Guys,
Guys.
I can't believe my own brother stabbed me in the back.
Yeah.
Which brother is saying this to which brother?
Oh, it's it's sublime. That
Yeah.
hypocrisy, the one-sidedness. There's just so much to that scene. There's Chuck saying he did it for you. He's almost lamenting when he says it because it's like, this is the good side of Jimmy. Look how far he's willing to go for you, but it's not right. And he wants Kim to do the right thing so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And he feels betrayed by this, which is, like Bradley said, that's so ironic.
And like, you know, back whenever Jimmy first showed up to take care of Chuck, you know, Chuck was like, if the situation were reversed, I would do the same thing to you. And we're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, none of us bought it.
Yeah.
And then it's like Jimmy sabotaged Chuck professionally, and it's like, well, you know, I bet he would do the same thing to Jimmy.
That's a good point. Chuck would probably go about it in a more lawful way, but he would sabotage Jimmy in some way because he's been doing it his whole life. He's the reason why Jimmy didn't get a real job at HHM, and he's been kept down. He's like he had conflicts with Kim because of Jimmy, and just the part in that scene where Chuck starts realizing that Kim doesn't see it the way that he does.
Yeah, and it's nice it's so cool that we finally reached the point where the show is able to say out loud what it's been telegraphing and what we've been talking about for so long on this
for
show.
2 seasons now.
Yeah, that Chuck made it. Chuck is at least in part responsible for how Jimmy is.
Yeah. Another interesting point of that scene is when Kim, under her breath, says, "I know he's not perfect," and Jimmy looks a little shocked because I feel like Jimmy doesn't know where this is going. And I mean, we can address the fact that also Kim was lying that whole scene, as was evident at the end there, when she punches Jimmy. She knows he's capable of this. Chuck was right when he says, "You know he's capable of this." But also the fact that Chuck brings up, "You're an officer of the court. You have to do something about it." Kim has to defend herself because she's not going to turn on Jimmy. So she puts on this act to clap back at Chuck, so that way she's not breaking her duty as a lawyer to his eyes, and she doesn't have to turn on Jimmy. She wants to have it both ways.
It's kind of funny because it's like Chuck was hammering Jimmy like earlier this season about doing things the correct way when it came to reaching out with
the elderly folk.
Yeah, and then we have Kim. Then he's just trying to like basically put Jimmy on a spike without any actual hard evidence, and Kim turns that around on him, and he's just like
yeah,
like he has to go through the system as well. Like he can't just be better than Jimmy.
Indeed. But man, every time, like around episode 9, it happened last season too, there will be a scene where Chuck goes off on Jimmy and Jimmy goes off on Chuck. This time it was Kim, and it's just glorious.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes in the show so far. It is just like the fucking irony of everything Chuck is saying, and like he's not even wrong either, because everything he's saying is true.
Yeah.
But it's like, also apply everything you're saying to yourself.
Yeah. But that's just, I mean, that's just something we'll keep analyzing with more and more. We're gonna get more Chuck and Jimmy in these last 2 episodes of the season, so let's go ahead and move on.
This is a flash forward where we have to see Jimmy Jr. in school and trial.
I'm Jimmy Jr.
I didn't steal those cookies.
Better call Junior.
And then his best friend's gonna save him in court, classroom court.
I'm Marky Mark, aka Marco.
Let's go.
Ooh.
He's back to scheming though. As much as like Chuck was a hypocrite that scene, look at the turnaround. The very next scene is Jimmy doing whatever he's doing.
He's
look, it's the fucking Beatles.
Yeah. The one of them's not barefoot.
Come on. Play it yourself. You want to be a filmmaker? Grow up here. Here we go. Pictures up. All right, let's do this. Last look.
That shook him more than I would expect.
Yeah.
Rhubarb, 9 o'clock.
You didn't speak to Annette
Annette?
in the superintendent's office.
Do you know an Annette downtown? I don't
God
think
damn
so.
it, Jimmy.
Well, I'm sorry about the mix-up.
That's the Better Call Saul
We're shooting
experience.
what's called an establishing shot. There's a student in the old building that used to be here.
Oh
We're
my
taking
God.
a little, what do you call it,
Ooh,
artistic
he's so
liberties.
good though.
Isn't Rupert Holmes English?
Yeah, and that's some great trivia. But he spent his formative years right here in Albuquerque.
Jesus
I'll
Christ.
tell you what,
Such
why
an
don't you call
improviser.
Annette? That would
Do
be
y'all
super.
weird question? Do y'all match with like teachers on dating apps? There's a lot of teachers out there.
There's a lot of teachers out
I
there.
mean, I don't know.
Just like when he was like
Chop, chop.
singing the Pina
Magic
Colada
chop.
song to that teacher, I was like, man, teachers are weird
Come
now
on,
that
let's
you're
go.
grown up.
No last looks. Just
I want to talk about this scene here of Mike in this diner.
I want to talk about Mike shoveling that lady's driveway.
Right. I mean, that's part of it for sure. But in this scene where Mike is in the diner in this episode right here, it's weird to see him relaxed and smiling. And the question of does it ever snow here is a very interesting one. It's definitely not a random question because you get the sense that Mike is finally starting to settle down and feel at home because he's now that he's here and things are all right. He got one over on the Salamancas. His guilty conscience has been subdued for now. He can start treating this place like home. He can start looking forward to the snow and the shoveling therein, and all that implies. So it's interesting to see Mike at a good place. It's not something you get to see very often.
Yeah.
we gotta talk.
Well, that lasted about 5 minutes. We had a good run of good Mike time.
This is how badass Mike is. Like, Nacho's about to draw his gun. Mike has a very relaxed posture, but he's still menacing enough that Nacho knows to back down on this threat.
He's just such a experienced criminal.
So
he doesn't have his hand on his hip ready to draw his gun. He's just like, you need to take your hand out of that pocket.
And it's part of Mike also knowing Nacho. He knows Nacho is someone he can trust to not be irrational.
Yeah, he's cool-headed enough to think things through before he does.
Yeah, Mike knows who to play his cards on.
It's over. I'm done with your boss.
Hector shot him in the face.
Holy fucking shit.
We buried a guy out in the desert.
Yeah.
Like I said, we cleaned it up.
This is a plot line that is really feeding off of Breaking Bad stuff, Bradley, which we should talk about.
That's why I really enjoy the Mike segments, because while both of these are extremely well-made shows, I still get more like raw entertainment value out of Breaking Bad, just because of like the high stakes action sometimes.
Yeah, Mike's storyline feels like
storyline kind of gives me that fix, but I still get to experience the different kind of story that Jimmy offers.
Yeah, it's a common opinion that Mike's storyline feels like Breaking Bad, and Saul's storyline feels like more of its own thing with Breaking Bad flavor. But Mike has a mantra in Breaking Bad of no half measures, and he makes it seem like it's a life motto that he's had for a long time because he relates it to past memories. But we're seeing that that's not true here. We're seeing that so far in this show, Mike has exclusively taken half measures. And it's really paying off badly. So you can see these half measures shaping up for him being as cold-hearted as he is during that half measure scene in season 3 of Breaking Bad. Because his kind actions, or his half measure of not killing the cartel guy, the driver, led to a good Samaritan getting killed, and now all those good feelings we were talking about in that diner, they were stripped away immediately because now the guilt is back.
So it's like Mike still got some development to do.
Yes, he's as badass as we know that he is in Breaking Bad, but he is not the same person by any stretch, even though he might seem like it. Yeah, he's not as cold as Joe would know, the Breaking Bad expert Joe.
I wrote Breaking Bad. Don't at me.
Wow. You're a very talented man.
Ooh.
Toothbrushes and brushing teeth have been a thing in this show.
Interviewed some paralegals. And
nailed. You were right, Joe.
I did it.
Real quick, this whole Mesa Verde thing, Kim is such a go-getter, and the fact that she knows that she didn't do it on her own is probably partially eating away at her.
God, yeah, that's gotta be killing her.
Yeah.
Going against him, you'd really want to make sure you've got all your I's dotted and your T's crossed.
Someone said that earlier this
Dude, that's a good callback to their conversation.
Yeah.
Man, I love this show. So she's saying something. She's saying something here, right? But she's using Jimmy terminology here very deliberately.
Yeah, I think using this terminology, and this is like, I want to hear what you guys think about it. The implication I got here is whenever they were doing the dot your I's, cross your T's talk, she was like, okay, I need you to, like, what kind of lawyer are you going to be? And he's like, at first he's like, I'm going to be a very straight-laced lawyer. I'm going to dot all my I's, cross my T's. And, he stopped himself. And he's like, I'm going to be the kind of, lawyer I have to be. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be my kind of lawyer. Which means the kind of lawyer he wants to be is not the kind of lawyer that dots all his I's and crosses his T's. He's what you might call a dirty lawyer, as much as he doesn't want to hear that. Yeah. And so I think what she's saying here is she's like, if you keep doing the kind of stuff you're going to do, he can and will take you down. If you are not a straight-laced lawyer, if you do these dirty things, he will find a way to exploit it and he will take you down.
Joe, do you have a read on this? I have one, but I'm gonna let it play before I say it.
No.
Okay.
Let's see.
Nothing for him to find.
I think it's the exact opposite, Bradley.
Oh,
I think
yeah?
she was using Saul terminology to imply that he needs to do something slipping Jimmy like right now, without outwardly saying.
So like Chuck is probably, as we speak, looking for dirt on Jimmy, so he needs to tie up any loose ends there are.
Exactly, but
that's good.
She's saying it in a non-direct way with Jimmy, slipping Jimmy terminology, which I never caught that, because like cross your I's, dot your T's, and like getting down to brass tacks. These are things Jimmy and Saul always say. So it just gets like, it's in my head as just something that maybe the writers like to say. But
yeah,
now
and
that I think about
Kim would never tell Jimmy to go out and do a slipping Jimmy thing. So she, she has to phrase it this way so she isn't like betraying her values or anything.
Yeah, and that's a good thing you mentioned, butchering her values. We're getting to this idea that Kim is aware of wrong, is somewhat okay with wrong, but she needs to justify it to herself in a way and keep her conscience as clean as she can while knowing the things that she does. So that includes telling Jimmy to go cover up his tracks without explicitly telling him to cover up his tracks. Let's see where that leads. Stealth.
Bum 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 bum.
And expensive.
Like $100 expensive.
Like $200 expensive.
You will go far, my young friend.
This scene reminds me of the shop scene.
The shop scene
with Jimmy.
Yes, which shop scene?
So little Jimmy with the guy that's
I get that vibe. He's teaching him the ways.
Yeah.
I think this scene is equal parts disgusting and fascinating. He is so calmly and smoothly breaking the law. It feels like I have all the answers tonight. It's the Chuck like worst nightmare right now.
Yeah. That machine gun's at full auto.
Yeah, but it's
everything.
But watching him go, he's just so smooth and he's so in control and he's so confident. He's truly at his element.
I thought the paperboy company was gonna come into play later because I'm like, that seems pretty public. Because I feel like if you want to do this securely, you'd go to your own house or somewhere no one happens to be. But
assuming you need a very good printer, that was the point, right?
Yeah.
Or a scanner, rather.
The doc was it. Oh.
I shall leave my robe.
That's pretty significant though, because it's like it goes back to what you were saying about Chuck stepping outside his comfort zones to like face down Jimmy.
If Jimmy's involved, Chuck has all manners of powers.
Chuck is a +10 buff.
Yeah.
No. Well, I believe you told my associate that he was here and he made copies.
Yeah, but sorry.
Whenever the dude said no and like denied Jimmy was in there, I like smiled and I was like, yes. But then I was like, wait, no. Why am I cheering? No. No, Jimmy did a bad thing.
That's what these shows do in the best. I'm backing up here just to bring up that shot. And shots with Chuck and Light are so interesting and fascinating.
Oh, yeah.
Here he's getting like bisected by the Thor here, which is interesting, and there's like a cross. So it's like he is already on his back legs.
He is going to get bisected by Jimmy metaphorically.
He's actually going to be turned into Guido Mista because 4s are bad numbers.
Yeah absolutely, Joe.
Dude, 4 for death.
Yeah. Very American superstition.
Very Italian.
Very Italian.
Sorry, don't know what to tell you.
This is like some Death Note shit.
It is.
Listen carefully. I am an officer of the court investigating a felony.
So you're a cop?
No, I'm not. Speak to me as if I were a child. I'm fine.
Oh.
This is so well directed, dude.
Oh man, that's so good. With now that shot is so cool with like the electric four surrounding Chuck.
Yeah.
He has to keep his attention.
It's like the four was caging him into electricity too, was surrounding him.
I am an attorney.
God, that is so good.
I have a moral and legal obligation.
Oh, Jimmy's.
Oh, but then Jimmy's also, worried about his brother.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with me.
McGill, maybe we could just take a break and...
Ernie, shut up!
Shut up, Ernie.
Poor
Fuck.
Ernie.
You
Aw.
think about the choice you make.
The duality of man.
I know, we both said it.
What do you want me to say?
I want you to speak the truth.
Dude, okay. I don't want any problems here.
Sir,
So
this is a
just
Wendy's.
Get him out of here or I'm gonna call the cops. Okay?
I feel more bad about Ernie.
He actually died. What the fuck?
That cross is looking pretty symbolic right now.
Okay, I was not expecting this level right here. I'm sure he's not actually dead, but fuck. Holy shit.
Call 911. Come
And think about the line of events
Oh.
that brought Chuck there. Who caused the line of events that brought Chuck there?
Well, isn't that a good question? Who caused the line of events that brought Chuck there is an answer that has two answers and they're both right.
Because it's like Jimmy went there to falsify this document, which he wouldn't have done had Chuck not deliberately stolen Kim's client.
Yeah, it's this never-ending cycle. I talked about it last time we recorded about Better Call Saul, back when these things were podcasts. I talked about how my first time going through the show, it took me a while to get acclimated to season 1, and then season 2 I was like, okay, this is better. But it wasn't until this episode where I was like, it was this scene right here where I realized how invested I was in all these storylines. And it's like, this is not Walter White facing down a Gus Fring in this drug world. This is a dude going to a copy shop and having a mental illness break him down, and his brother watching in dismay, even though his brother is the one who brought him here. It's this layered, rich writing with something that shouldn't be exciting, but it makes me so invested. And
yeah, and it's really cool how this show is exploring the idea of blame and where do you assign it, because like you said, like, whose fault is it that Chuck is here? And even throughout that scene, there were moments where I was, cheering for Jimmy. I was like, why am I cheering for Jimmy? He was here doing a bad thing. And I was like, well, was he really? Because he was, he was looking out for Kim. And, this is very different from Breaking Bad, because there, I didn't think about the blame very much, because
in
I
Breaking
think
Bad,
Heisenberg is a monster. He's a monster fighting other people who are also monsters most of the time.
Yeah, in Breaking Bad, it's like, oh man, I'm cheering for Walt because it's exciting, but you, like, deep down, you're like, oh, but he's wrong. I'm doing it because he's a fun
I
character
go
to
back
watch.
and forth between, like, I love you, Jimmy, and I want you to succeed, and being like, no, Jimmy, stop. Fuck.
I'm so glad we captured the... Man, I feel really bad for Ernie. Shut the fuck up, Ernie. I think that is exactly why this show needed to be watched. And man, so this is the episode where I started loving this show. And
Dude, this was my favorite episode yet. That fucking scene in the first half of the episode where they had the big sit down, Chuck calling out Jimmy. That was intense as shit.
Yeah. Oh man, I am love this episode. I'm glad we finally got here. The show is about to take very good turns. Shit is ramping up. It's the part in One Piece where all the characters have been introduced. It's time to get to the fights.
And like I have no idea like where we're gonna go, because this I imagine from here Chuck is going to go to the hospital, which he's been there before, but this is very different.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, exactly.
He really his neck really got bodied by that fucking desk.
That's a fall that would kill people. Like,
oh yeah,
they're like that was a coin flip of a chance of Chuck dying right there. You know.
I love how we were talking about before and the symbolization of death, and then his neck gets cracked. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh man. Joe, you got anything else before we wrap up this one? Poor Ernie. Shut up, Ernie. No, but genuinely, poor Ernie. Ernie, do not treat me like I'm a child. It's like, oh, he's
Ernie's
just
trying
worried.
to do his job, and he's doing as best as he can. And like, yeah.
I think you now understand why we call him Ernest Bro in the fan base.
Ernest
Bro and Bromar. Those are the two bros.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's this episode. If you're watching this, join us next time as we finish off season 2.
The next episode's Click, the Adam Sandler film.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that movie made me cry.
I watched a video of why that movie is objectively bad. It kind of crushed that movie. It's weird.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a bad movie, but to its credit, when I watched it in theaters, the second half did make me cry.
That's true. Like, the first half... Oh, we're getting off on a tangent.
Oh, it's cool.
First half, I'm going to make myself orange. I'm going to look at boobs. I'm going to slap my boss.
Yeah. Second half is... Oh, that's devastating.
Yeah. Adam Sandler. Do be good.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Better Call Saul.
Ba-da-bum, ba-da-bum.